Get out in that kitchen and rattle those pots and pans. Get out in that kitchen and rattle those pots and pans. Well, roll my breakfast, 'cause I'm a hungry man.
Welcome to the Car Guy Channel. We got a show today that's absolutely, completely different than we've ever done before. I inquired a car collection of over 15 cars. 12 of them are all MGs. Vintage stuff. They're TCs, TDs, TFs, and kind of got MGAs. And we got one special MGA you got to see. The collection of well over 12 cars in that part of the collection, a total of 15. But out of the 12 MGs, there's a pattern to what he was doing. And this happens to be a 1948 MG TC. And of course, there were TCs, there were TDs, and there were TFs. And not to really confuse you or go into all the numbers and stuff, a simple way to go really about them is the fenders on the cut on the early model cars have kind of a point to them. The wire wheels, and this car to me is one of the most spectacular cars. Happens to be a 1948. Now they really had these from 1945 to 1949 were these particular models. Even though it might not look like a huge change, but like every manufacturer, they did have a change. Now this happens to be the D model. Now, of course, we got the TC, which is the earlier car. And actually, when they made these TCs from 1945 to 1949, they only built about maybe 10,000 cars. That's really quite a bit of cars for a British automaker, but that's still a lot of cars. When they went ahead and built these, they built a lot of these, nearly 30,000 of these. But the crazy thing, almost all of these cars came to the United States, except for about 1,600 to 1,700 cars stayed in the UK. Almost, they were so popular, they came over into the United States. And to tell the difference on them is kind of the front bumper. The front bumpers kind of go all the way down on the front of the car because the grill's almost identical on them, but there's some little changes to the real pros that watch the show or know all about the MGs. The grills are pretty much close to the same, but it's this right here. This is the kind of the quick eye to tell the difference really from a TD to a TC. And that's really the best way to go ahead and tell the difference between these cars. Now, the TF, the gray car with red leather interior, they all had leather interior, and it just smells great. It's just beautiful. Skin, the headlights are molded into the car. If you took the class, took the notes, you'll find out this rear happens to be a TF, a 1955 TF, but it's a 1500. The 1500 will actually have the emblems on the side of the car to pretty much coordinate that's what it is. And to the MG people, this right here is one of their kind of a really sought-after car because it has the more horsepower. It's a little bit better and has about 5% more horsepower than the standard MG model car. Now, out of the MG line, this happens to be a little bit of one of the odd cars. This right here is called a touring car. Some people that I've talked to had no idea MG even made a touring car, and those mostly were in Europe. Not a lot of them really came to the States, not like the TDs and the TCs, and of course some of the TF model cars. This right here is a car that is meant for 4 passengers to sit into, and it's a convertible touring car. It's just extremely cool. I just like everything about it. And these are not wire wheel cars. These all have steel wheels on them. And of course, it is an early car, so the headlights are not molded into the fenders at all. This right here is one of those things that out of all the MGs in the whole complete deal, when you watch the Indiana Jones movie and you know how they picked out the Holy Grail, there was the one that had all the diamonds and glitters and gems on it. Then they had the kind of the simple Grail that really was the Holy Grail. This right here, to me, happens to be the Holy Grail. In the MG world, to help anybody get an idea exactly what I'm talking about, an MG, this happens to be a 1960 twin-cam MGA. Twin cams are very rare. They made just barely 2,000 of them back in 1960. And they were one of the special cars that MG made, and it's a twin cam 4-cylinder motor. Higher horsepower. Now, MGs were pretty much good at about 77, maybe 80 miles per hour. This car here with the twin cam is rated at 111 miles per hour, the highest they really ever had for this particular type of car. They are just rare and spectacular, and there's so many different pieces about a car being an MGA twin cam.
Dum 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 be dooby dum 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 be dooby dum 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 be dooby dum wow wow wow